Are you in an environment with limits where the ceiling is always in plain sight? You're in an environment where there's no opportunity to go any further. Did you know that there are environments that are limitless? There are environments that can be cultivated that are limitless. Being in a limitless environment. I want to begin sharing with you a story. One of my favorite movies of all time is Facing the Giants. And if you don't know about this movie, it's basically a movie about a coach who everything seemed to be going wrong for him. His income was off, his house was falling apart. He was a coach that was about to lose his job because he had been losing for so long. And he had been having some pity parties because he felt like nothing goes right. I can't get anywhere. Then all of a sudden, he began to tap into something more. He began to start searching and seeking to go to a new dimension. And that's what I want to speak to you about today. So in the movie, one of my all-time favorite scenes in the movie is the death crawl. And some of you may not know what the death crawl is, but it's basically where you're on all fours and you're crawling, And so the coach had been having his players to do this death crawl, carrying someone on their back. And basically they had been able to get, good was getting to maybe the 25-yard line or the 35-yard line. And so this time he's got a new mindset and he's talking to his star player and he's saying, will you give it your all? Will you do the best you can, the very best you can? And the player gives him a commitment to do it. And so then he puts a blindfold on and he tells him to do the death crawl. But all he asks is that you give it your very best. He puts the blindfold on him because he doesn't want him to let the environment, the things that he's imposing in his own mind, stop him. So the scene goes on that as he has the blindfold on and the coach is pushing him and he's telling him, come on, give it your very best, your very best. And then finally, after the guy is gut-wrenched, sweat pouring off of him. Matter of fact, he's carrying somebody now on his back. He falls and he says, I can't go any further. I can't go any further. This has to be at least the 50-yard line. And the coach pulls the blindfold off of him and he says, you're in the end zone. You made it all the way to the end zone. And he begins to tell him, don't tell me anymore that you can't go further. You haven't been pushing yourself. You have been not being the leader that you could be. And this scene was very critical to me because sometimes we have allowed the circumstances, our environment, the things that we come from, the people that we're attached to, the people that we associate with to limit us. Sometimes we have been allowing our own mindset, our own past experiences, our own past failures, our own, what we tell ourselves is a lack of knowledge to prevent us from going where we're supposed to go. And it's time for us to take a shift. It's time for us to get into a different environment, get a new movement, a new mindset that breaks those limits. A similar story I want to share with you, my own personal story. Recently, I was working with my personal trainer, and he actually had us doing the death crawl. And that's what's kind of motivating this story. He had us doing the death crawl as part of our high intensity workout. And he had us doing some weights as well. And each time I kept thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. And you know what? I even went and got some smaller weights because I was like, I cannot do this. And he came over and he took the weights from me. And he told me, do not pick up weights that I don't have out. And I kind of just rolled my eyes at him. Like, you don't know my body. You don't know what I can lift. You don't know. One size doesn't fit all. This is what I'm saying in my mind, you know? And I had the biggest attitude. I mean, I was royally upset with him. Later on, although I had this attitude, you know what? I started thinking, I'm going to show him. You're not going to punk me out. So I ended up doing the weights. I ended up doing the death crawl. I was hurting. I was angry. I ended up doing all of it. Later on, he comes back to me and he says, what was all that about with the smaller weights? And I said, because my arm hurts. And I knew that I couldn't do this. And he looked at me and he said, but you did. And light bulb came on. But I did. I had been putting limits on myself. I had been telling myself this was as much as I could do. I didn't want to go to that next level. I had been telling myself, you do a great workout. You come out and you're sweating and you have laid it out there. But guess what? He knew I had more inside of me. He's the trainer. He's the coach. He knew that I hadn't been digging in as hard as I could have been. And that's really all that I want to say to you today. That there are limits that you have put on yourself perhaps, and you're wondering, why am I not in the end zone? You're wondering, why is my business not flourishing the way I know that it could? Maybe you've put some limits on. Maybe you haven't gotten to a point where you are out of your comfort zone. Let's say it like that. So check your environment. Start asking yourself, am I in a growth environment? Do I need to surround myself with some people, with some mentors, with some coaches, with some friends that will help me push past my limits? Am I in a growth environment that can cultivate, that can help me go to the next level? It's time to break those old limits. There's a song that I love that our church sings that says, when God is in it, there are no limits. And I'm saying to you, time to check those limits that you have placed upon yourself and go to the next level. I'm Stephanie Nchebe, your visionary coach and author. Have an incredibly blessed day.